Hey, I'm glad you're here. Let's dive into another episode of the Coach B Experience. What's up, brothers and sisters? I'm coming to you live with another episode. I always want to say that. I feel like a radio host. But today, I wanted to share with you about getting out of a rut and what that means for you, and talking a little bit about what a rut means, and then also, giving you a step-by-step, play-by-play on how to get out of a rut. First, let's break this down. What is a rut? A rut, to me, to all the people I've spoken with about it and coached through it, one of the biggest things I find is that they almost feel lost, right? This feeling of hopelessness, this feeling of, man, this is currently my life. Or they don't have a vision. They don't have the next step. They don't know where they're going. In a sense, they're lost, right? So that's what that feeling comes from. But most people I talk to, it's not that they're lost. It's that they're growing. And they're hitting what I call a GRL, growth resistance level. And when you hit that growth level, there's a lot of resistance that comes your way because you are about to reach a whole new level, and that requires you to change. And one of the biggest things that we hate to do is change. And so we resist it. And instead of resisting, we need to embrace it so we can go to our new level. Because when you're making $50K a year and then you start making $100K a year, it opens up a whole new level of choices. When you are not the most popular kid in school, and now you are the most popular kid in school, it opens up a whole new level of choices. I'll tell you this, time and time again, I get stuck into these quote unquote ruts. All right. And I call them quote unquote ruts for myself because it's not really a rut. It's just that I'm growing. I'm about to reach a whole new level. And instead of embracing the change, I resist it. And then but luckily I have that self-awareness to be able to say, okay, I'm in a rut. I need to get out of here. This is what I need to do. And for you, it's the same thing, right? When you're in a rut, what you need to do is just have this awareness that, okay, I'm in a rut. I'm spiraling down. Right. And first two of the things I always talk about is truth and ownership. Truth will always set you free, the Bible says. And then ownership is owning that and saying, okay, yes, this is my life. I can have that control, because truth gives you the ability to make the next choice and have control. And then ownership gives you the ability to make the choices instead of blaming somebody else. Because most time we're in a rut, we start looking for someone to blame or something to talk about that why we're here. But instead of just saying, hey, look, I'm here because of my own choices, whatever that may be. And the most recent rut that I can actually experience was when I left my last job I had in sales. Right. I was so upset at the company. I stayed there because the manager, and I was like, look, I don't want to really leave, but because I really like this manager that I'm with, but I should have left a long time ago. I knew from like day one, I was like, this is probably not the job for me. Right. But listening to everybody else, so like, you should probably just work this job, learn the experience, and get what you need out of there. Get what you need out of there. Now, for me, I was on this path, and I was like, you know what? I know what I want to do. I know that I wanted to write books. I know that I wanted to podcast. I know that I wanted to speak on stage. I already knew what I wanted to do, right? But because I listened to the people that were older than me, that were in my counsel, but one of the things that I did not do is I did not take advice from people that were on a similar path as me. I took advice from people that were further along the path as me, but not on a similar path as me. So what that caused was for their fear to come onto me, because they feared ever going into entrepreneurship. They feared going into business. They feared writing books. They feared all that. They've never done that. They've never been on a path like me, even though they may be further along the path than me. They just didn't have the same mindset as me. They didn't have the same drive, the same abilities. So, but still, their counsel was still wise, right? Their counsel was still wise. So, however, I stayed in this job and completely, just, I think desecrate is the word, right? Desecrated my belief in working for somebody, like literally just desecrated my belief in that, right? However, it also showed me the show that you don't need to be that smart to make money. You don't need to be that smart to have your own business. You don't need to be that educated, right? And it also taught me to listen to people, but that's totally different though. So how I fell into this rut was because I was at this job, I was working, and I knew I didn't like it. By month one, I was like, there was a lot of practices that was going on at that job that I just didn't agree with. And a lot of people would tell me, no, you have to go into a job, and you can't change it, and you have to conform to their beliefs. And I am totally against that, right? I think if a company, or I think a person, if you want to grow in yourself, one thing you should do is have a core set of values and beliefs that you have. And if something or someone wants you to change your core set of beliefs, or wants you to overlook your beliefs, let that thing go and stick to your core set of beliefs and be strong in that. And for me, it was that I would say one thing to customers, right? And I would sell them on something. However, if they would call me back about a question, it was almost as if like I played dumb, or I try to push it off to someone else and just let them keep paying month after month. And I was like, well, if they're paying this money and they're not getting what they need, right? Then hey, look, and I'm the one that told them that if they have any questions, they can call me. It's not your character, but it's my character now that gets involved, because it's my email on those names. It's my name on those emails. So I just didn't feel aligned with that, right? And I got into a rut because I was just like, man, like, is this really me? Is this really what I should be doing with my life? Should I really halt everything that I'm doing? And I was like, you know what? Now, there's a lot of skills that I learned, communication, sales, a lot of great things that I learned, but also a lot of negative that I learned too as well, positive and negative, that I'm now will be taking on to my own business. And something that I really learned a lot, and I love that I implemented now, is that I only sell to people that I know I can get results for. It's not about the money for me. It's about getting results. It's about helping people shift from one current place, right? Helping men shift from one state to another. Helping men see themselves from 99% of men to 1% men, right? That's what literally my job, my business is all about. In terms of, we also have a marketing company, other things that we do, writing books and whatever. But for me, and my main business is just helping men to see that, to shift to 1%. So the rut came for me was when I left. Right. And I was, before I even made the decision to leave, I was contemplating. I was like, should I leave? Should I not leave? Like, what's the pros and cons? I talked to my manager, and he said, you know what? Hey, look, I see it all over your face. I know you want to leave. I know you're not happy here. I think even happiness, sometimes you have to forego your happiness and get the money. Right. And I told my mom this because I think a lot of people, sometimes they stick in jobs. And now this is totally different than what I'm talking about, where I am and where currently you might be. Like, being happy at a job versus making the money you need is totally different things, about desecrating your values but still getting what you need, right? So for me, I was going against my core beliefs and values, so I had to leave. If I wasn't happy at the job, but it wasn't going against my core values, that's a personal issue that I need to deal with, right? So it's totally two different things. I'm not going to touch on that, but I told him the truth. I was like, hey, look, I don't like this, and this. And then he told me, so why don't you just tell customers that? Why don't you just take the phone calls? And I was like, and I think, even though we came away with he said, you know what, there's some sides of the business that we're working in that you're just not going to like, especially when you're working for somebody. There's some things that you're just not going to like. And I totally got that. But then I got into a position, I said, you know what, if that's the case, then I'm going to leave. And I said, you know what, hey, you know what, fine, I'll write it out to the end of the month and I'm leaving. Then I talked to my other manager above him, my supervisor. She was like, hey, you should really stay, da-da-da. And someone else called me into a room to stay. And I was like, you know what, I kind of give it I will, you know what, maybe I didn't give it a fair share, right? I'll use the platform and I'll start and I will really believe in it. And I'll start, going through the process and really believing in it. And the next month came, and I hated it even more because I didn't feel congruent with myself. And yet now, like, I'm really in a rut. Like, now I'm just like in the water, murky deep. Like, I'm going to work every single day, freaking hating life. I'm going to work and I'm more upset. I'm one of those people that when I first got there, right, those people out there that are like, oh, I don't like this job, da-da-da. And I was like, how don't you like this job? We're getting food, all this, da-da-da. And I'm like, okay. Then after that, I'm like, you know what? I'm turning into one of them. And I was like, I need to leave before I get into that space. So I'm here at the job complaining to myself. And I'm just like, wow, I can't believe it. This is really me. This is really my life. This is what I'm doing. And I said, I'm going to leave. I'm officially going to leave. My mom even told me, she was like, look, don't ever play with a job. If you're going to leave a job. I totally believe if you already opened that door about leaving, leave. To go back and forth, even if it is sales jobs, because sales and quote, it's like they get so many of that every single time. Like, they get a lot of people that want to leave, but then they don't believe in themselves, but then they still believe in themselves. They don't believe the job is for them. But I totally believe, like, if you're going to leave a job, just like leave, right? You can always grind it out and go and try to work on yourself. But for me, I was in a total different space because it wasn't about my abilities. It wasn't about my aptitude. It was just about my values and what I believe and what the company believed. And it just didn't match up. So I had to leave. However, Now, this is where it comes. Once I leave the job, it wasn't about not having money. It wasn't about, that wasn't the key for me. Being in a rut now was like, okay, what's my next step? Because I told myself, hey, look, I'm going to give myself 12 months to be at that job. And I went against my own code of ethics. I said, you know what? I'm going to leave. I left that job way before my 12 months was up at the job. And now I'm like, okay, what am I going to do next? Where am I going to find myself? Where am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And for me, I said, you know what? I don't know where I'm going to go. And instead of just sitting down and just saying, okay, let me process the emotions of leaving. Let me process what I'm going to do next. Let me take my pen and pad out. I decided to play God. I didn't submit to God at all. I just said, God, I'm leaving. And Bertrand, we're leaving. This is what we're going to go do. We're going to go do. And instead of submitting to God, instead of asking God, like, hey, God, what's my next step? What should I do? Now that I'm gone, where should I go? I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And everything I did just didn't work out. Right. I tried to record podcast after podcast after podcast. And it just didn't feel right. I tried doing so many things outside of God's help and it just didn't feel right. And I think the first thing is when you're in a rut, you just need to submit to God. It's because you are like Adam and Eve. You're trying to do things your own way. You're trying to be more knowledgeable than God. You need to take a step back and be like, look, you know what, God, I'm sorry. Help me. Right. And submit to his will, because trust me, whatever God has for you is amazing. It's here to give you joy. It's here to give you happiness. It's here to help you to grow into the person that you need to be and to get to your destiny, right? And then the second thing for me was after that is I got a pen and paper out and I started writing down what success means to me, because I was chasing this thing of success, right? And I talked to a friend. He said, hey, have you even written it down? And the same advice I gave him like a couple years ago, he gave it back to me. And I was like, wow, this is why you need such great counsel. This is why you need such a great community. Not environment, but community. People always talk about the place like environment, but I'm talking about community. Some people that really embody what you believe and are able to help you at your time of need, right? Because the word that he gave me was writing it down, and I started writing down what success means to me. And I was like, wow, the idea I was chasing of success was not even of my own, but because of, great marketing and great schemes. And I don't want to call it schemes, right? Great marketing plans, great marketing ploys. Like nowadays on Instagram, you can scroll through everyone that's a business owner, 6-7 figures. Like everyone's a 6-figure earner. But I remember at a time I was the most happiest was when I had my own fitness business. I was making $2,000 to $3,000 a month. I think on my high day would be $4,000 1 month, and I was happy. I didn't have to go to a job, but I was still helping people in their health and all that, and that was like real happiness for me. I was like, I was working at home, I was online, and it was cool. But then when I started to get outside of God's will for me, I was like, look, I'm gonna scale this up to 6-7 figures. And I just was chasing the money trail. And I was just falling in love with the money instead of understanding how to serve people. And I think that's where I got so caught up. And that's where I got to another rut. But yet again, this rut myself, submitted to God. Submitted to God, wrote it down what I wanted. And then after that, now I took back my mornings, right? In the morning, I wake up, I drink my water. Then after that, I go about my business of working out. I come back to the house. I plan out what I'm going to do. I write down on my whiteboard, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And I started building a routine for myself. You see, the thing is most people, and even me, we get in a rut because we get out of alignment of what we usually do. It's like, oh man, I need to find a good schedule again. I need to start doing this again. Look, if you're out of your morning routine, that's perfect. Because right now, if you go to my website at www.coachbn.com, you can get the 7 secrets to high performance morning. Trust me, take that, implement it, and watch it change your mornings and change ultimately your day, which is going to change your life. I'm telling you, I guarantee it. Like, yes, quote me on that. I guarantee you take my 7 secrets to high performance morning, it's going to change everything for you. But change your morning routines, because if you take control of your mornings, that dictates how the rest of your day goes. And I'll even give you one secret right now. Is start to sleep better. We get so caught up in thinking about what we need to do at night that we never actually get out of our rut, because all we're thinking about is our rut. We don't focus on what we need to do next, right? You've already submitted. God's already given you that plan. You wrote it down. Right now, start implementing. Start taking control of your mornings again. With that being said, okay, so you have the laid step-by-step plan, right? First, submit, right? Submit to God and be like, all right, God, I know whatever you need is better than me, right? Or submit to your God, whoever you worship, right? And the next thing after that is write down whatever comes to your heart of what you need to be doing, and then after that, Go implement that. Take control of, before you implement that, go to implement that, then take control of your mornings. Okay, however you want to do it, whether you want to take control of your mornings, implement that. But first you got to submit. That's the first things first. Submit to God, because he or she knows better than you. They know way much better than you, right? Then after that, take control of your mornings. Then implement what you hear, or implement what you hear and take control of your mornings. Everywhere you want to do that, but trust me, submit. First things first. Okay, with that being said, love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace. Hey friend, thank you for listening to the show. I have just 3 easy tasks for you before next time. So 1, I want you to hit that subscribe button so you are notified when we release the weekly podcast, and share the podcast as well with someone that you know needs this. And 2, I want you to take just one thing you learned and choose to take action on it in your life right now, and share your results with me in our Facebook group, on the Facebook wall, and even in the comments below. And 3, always remember, you have power in your choice. Till next time, friend. See you later.